Hi, everyone. Welcome. Welcome back to Lisa's Love and Light. Thank you all for being here today. How's everyone's day going so far? Well, I can tell you the heat is on. It's really hot out there. It's getting hotter than hell. Anyway, that's what's going on in this part of the world. I don't know what's going on where you are, but it's really going to be hot today, which is surprising for the beginning of September to be this hot anyway. Hopefully, for those who are experiencing the heat, please stay in a cool place and drink plenty of water or other liquids. Thank you for being here today. The title of this discussion today is going to be Remembering Mom. Remembering Mom. But before I get into that, I wanted to say that I am going to be starting these discussions with an affirmation, to help others. And one of the affirmations I'm going to do today is to say this: never judge a book by its cover, especially if you have not read the pages. And for those out there who are listening, you know exactly what that means. You know, a lot of people will judge someone by the way they look, by the way they speak, by the way they move. But sometimes they need to really get to know that person to know who they are, and that saying, that affirmation really fit, you know. Um, and also, I have some things written down, like a little outline. Never, ever carry anyone else's burdens. People never do that. I used to do that. I'm so guilty of that from the past, of who I used to be in the past, just carrying people's burdens that doesn't belong to me. Instead of letting them carry their own burdens. I don't do that anymore. As I heal and get better and start to grow and evolve, I don't do that. And I'll tell people, I'm not carrying your burdens. I have to tell somebody that too. Listen, I'm not that same Lisa that you knew once, long ago. I'm not being subservient to anyone anymore. And I'm certainly not carrying anybody's burdens. Whatever bed you made, you have to lie in it. It's not my problem. Everybody has to carry their own weight, and everyone has to carry their own cross. And so be it. And, like I said, when I say these things and I set boundaries, some people, and I just keep it moving. I don't have to act out a character. I don't have to be crazy about it. None of that. Just say it, mean what I say, and say what I do. I think I said that correctly, right? And well, anyway, whatever I say is what I mean. It's basically what I'm saying here. And this journey of healing is never easy. And it's just ongoing process. Some days I'm up and I'm giddy and playful, and other days I just feel like, how can I get up? And for those who are going through this, you know exactly what I mean: grief, and it just catches you off guard at times. But I'm okay today. And I wanted to say to everybody, tomorrow's my birthday. Yeah, it's like, yes, I'm a Virgo. The time goes quickly, you know. Um, Also, I wanted to address something here about the video yesterday. Thank you all for sharing the videos. Subscribers, the new subscribers, welcome, welcome here today. Welcome. You're going to learn a lot of how I am, what I do, and how I heal my grief. You can't really completely heal it. I can, we all never get over the loss of a loved one, but we can get through it. We can get through the pain. And one of the other things before I even get started, I always say, and I want the newcomers here to know this as well, I am not a licensed therapist of any sort. I don't have a degree in therapy. I do have a degree, but not in that. I have it in business marketing and management. But what I wanted to say is that what we do here is that I share um, ways that help me to heal and to get better with the grief process, because during the shutdown, I lost about 10 people, including my mother and my dog, and a really good friend who I volunteer with at church. And it was like a domino effect, as I spoke about in prior videos, you know, losing people. Like every week, somebody was passing away during the shutdown, and it was just overwhelming. For the first time in my life, if you haven't seen a video, yesterday I talked about being a survivor. I haven't talked about the 9/11 for years, but I talked about it because hopefully um, that can help somebody who may have gone through something similar besides the grief of losing a loved one, because something like that can traumatize you and it can bring on all types of like depression and anxiety. So I talked a lot about that. One of the things I didn't mention on that video, which I will mention here today, when that situation happened and I was stuck in the midst of the 9/11 situation, people were jumping off of the buildings because the building, the World Trade Center was on fire and people couldn't get out, and they were on top of the roof and there was no way out, and they couldn't be saved in time, so they jumped, but they jumped to their death, and it was just a lot of it's like something out of a movie, but far worse. And during that time that I was in that, because I was in the midst of that for 8 hours literally before I was able to get out of it. Thick smoke, black, black, thick smoke. Barely could see. All you can hear is the shrieking and people screaming, yelling, and you can, the sound of death, basically. And what I was thinking about, besides praying to God, is about my son. Because at that time, my son was only 2 years old. And I just kept asking God to help me get through this because he needs me, right? My child needs me. And thank God I was able to get through that. But the trauma behind it was overwhelming. And I talked about this because sometimes people have things, is it called PTSD? I hope I'm saying that correctly. Because people sometimes get that from traumatizing experiences in their life and they don't know how to heal that. And this is why I talk about it, because especially from the family I come from, what goes on in this house stays in this house. And that doesn't help anybody. That's the old way of doing things. And it doesn't help anybody because if there's pain and trauma associated with something that happened to you, which is, no fault of your own, it causes trauma and anxiety. And if you don't do anything about it and pretend it didn't happen or it doesn't exist, then the pain stays stagnated within you. And if the pain doesn't have an outlet to go any place, then it can overwhelm you. You can be consumed by it. And then that inner child within you cannot heal from those scars. So this is why I do therapy. And yes, I still do grief therapy once a week with my therapist, and it helps because I still have moments of that outburst of grief, and I just am able to deal with it better than I was when it first happened. But between having a situation with the shutdown and then going through 9/11 before that, and these things can really traumatize your life and you have to work that much harder to get through it. So that's why I shared that yesterday, because someone who may need to hear the story because they might be going through something privately that they're not sharing with others, they need to know that there's help. that they're not alone by themselves. And if I can share some tidbits on how I get through things, maybe it will help you as well. And one of the things I talk about a lot on this channel is music. I have a playlist of music that I put on, especially when I feel like that depression. I don't have much anxiety, but the depression from, not being able to talk to my mother and stuff like that happens. And so I put on a playlist of music. Now, what I do too, I love the Waltons. I watch that because that's a time that I feel doesn't exist in this world today because of all of how the world is today, spinning mostly right on misery. So that's my story when it comes to that music. And when you guys get up in the morning, this is what I do. I do positive affirmation. I watch some positive videos on how to uplift myself and get through the day. And mostly what I do is say to myself, I am worth it. Self love is important. And you have to grow into that because I wasn't a person. I was a person who always was self-serving to other people, always caring about their needs and forgetting about my own needs. And as I grew and did therapy, and there were some assignments that my therapist gave to me as well, the pros and cons of, A, B, and C and D. And I would do the work, and little by little, I start to feel better. And one of the things that my therapist would say to me all the time, everyone, is that your loved one who passed over would never ever want you to be depressed and crying all the time because they're no longer here. They will want you to live your life to the fullest, and that's so important. And I'm learning to do that little by little. The other thing I have learned is self love. It's important to love yourself and to take care of your mental and physical health. Because if you don't take care of that, you can't take care of yourself or anybody else or anything else. That's so important. That should always be on top of the list. And I also learned to set boundaries. My therapist talked to me about that for a long time, but before I was able to put it into action. And it's important because sometimes people will cross over your boundaries, especially for me, like a person that I was, being subservient to everybody, people being intrusive, even when I'm busy and doing things, overstepping their boundaries. And I would just let it happen, because I wanted them to like me. I wanted to have them in my life, whether it was family, friends, or whatever, and I don't do that anymore. I don't operate that way. Self love, I love being, I can spend time alone by myself and do things that are productive without feeling that codependency, because that's how my therapist helped me to understand being codependent on other people, and I learned not to do that. I was really codependent, especially when relationships would end. It's like I can remember a time years ago when I was 26 and I dated someone who was like 22 years older than me. And after 6 or 7 months, it ended. Wasn't looking forward to dating someone that much older. I don't know if I grew into it or whatever, but in any event, it was the first time in my life that I felt pain where I'm running after this person and this and that and please. And sometimes people love that, when they have a big ego and they love you running behind them and chasing it, it just swells up their ego even more. But I was really hurting. I could barely go to work. It was a whole bunch. And now I look back on that because I'm much older now and I laugh at it, but it was a learning experience for me. And the person I am today, even from like a couple of years ago, I'm different. That, I just don't do that anymore. I mean, I would like to at some point, have a relationship, but a relationship to me is like, going like on a date for me. It's like, let's go to a carnival and have fun. Let's go bowling, something fun where we're going to laugh. Let's go to arcade and have fun. That kind of thing is how I approach things now, and not so much of the other stuff. Um, and I don't get codependent. on someone. If a person says, it's not working out, blah, blah, and I don't think so, and I would feel like disappointed, and I would say, okay, yeah, all right, understood, but not to the point where I was before. Oh my God, and dramatic and all of that. And I don't do that because I really enjoy my time with myself, and doing these videos and going out from time to time. But self-love, when you love yourself, you're worth more. What I say to myself now, well, that person and I are never going to, maybe we don't mix well, because whatever the case is, but I don't allow myself to get to the point where I'm codependent on somebody else, and I had to learn that. It wasn't easy. Very, and I stay in prayer and meditation a lot also. Like, remember in some of those other videos I had, I was talking about this raging war with God. It wasn't really prayer. I don't know what it was, but really, it's like in the movie Forrest Gump, the guy, the lieutenant, and he was fighting with God, and he was on top of the top pole on the boat. And then after all that, and I don't know how long he did that for, but I did it for like 4 months during the shutdown. After all of that, I made my peace with God. But what I realized, people, is that God was showing me, Lisa, look at the people in your life. I know you're grieving, you're going through A, B, C, and D. Look around you. Look at what's happening. And when the clouds started to be removed a little bit, I started to see that these people didn't care about me. These people were using me and getting what they could out of me, and vice, and etc. and so on. When I started to see what was truly going on, I started to get really angry and have these conversations. I had some arguments with people, and then I set the boundaries, you know. And when people kept crossing them to do whatever because they were so used to being in my energy and doing whatever, and me being subservient. And I just said, no, it's not happening anymore. And when people try, I cut off, block, and delete it. And when I first did it a few times, I talked to my therapist all the time about it. And he said, you have to set boundaries because you're going through this A, B, and C, and people have to respect that. And as I did more of it, I started to feel better about it because it was warranted, because they were just really just stepping over boundaries and doing things. And so that situation that I had with God, and I started to realize that this is what He was showing me, my peace came after that. I don't know how, what people believe in, but this is my experience. And after that, things start to align in my life, because also I would always say I don't need God because I was also like independent with things, never wanting people to do things for me because they can't do it like I can do it. I don't know if any of you out there are like that, but I was like that a whole lot, and I'm like, God, I can do this, and I had the nerve to say that. Oh my God. Anyway, but I look back at that and what I am now, and I laugh at it because, it wasn't funny at the time that I was going through it, but um, God was just trying to show me, if you lean on me, I got you. Okay, I got this and I got you. But you got to go through what you got to go through. And it wasn't easy because the pain, I didn't want to look in the mirror and say and deal with all this pain. My mother's gone, my dog, all my friends that were really friends are gone. And it was hard. People, was so hard. But it was so worth it because I would never be at the point where I am in life now. Nothing is perfect. If I sit here and say I'm over everything, no, you never get over it completely, but you get through it as you look in a mirror, as you do the work. And when I say the work, connect with the therapist in a state that you live, and sit down with one. You can even do Zoom. You don't have to go to their office, and also a bereavement group, because you may be feeling things and going through things that you may not want to talk about. However, people at those bereavement groups may be going through the same things that you're going through, and they may share some tidbits on how they're getting through it, which can help you little by little. Do things that make you feel good, is what I can tell you. Like And I'm talking about things like music, taking a walk. If you have a pet, spend more time with your pet. Do things that, and make sure that your peace is not being disturbed and that you're not around a lot of toxicity, because staying or being around toxicity is going to take the healing process a lot longer. And I had to clear that out of my way so that I can grow and expand, because like I said, my physical and mental health is everything. Because if I don't have that, I can't help myself or anyone else or anything else. And that's priority. And it's always important to make that a priority. So, and then you can feel better, you do better, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, baby steps. And as you get better, you can help other people as well, and pay it forward. So I said all of that, and now I'm going to talk about remembering mom. I just wanted to address these things with the newcomer so that they can know what this channel is really about. So today I want to talk about my mom, the things I used to do with her. I always want to keep her memory alive, even though she's not here anymore in the physical. It was so very difficult, and at times it is, because there's things that are happening in my life that I want to reach out and pick up the phone and call her. And then remember, oh, she's not here. And then, I start to feel sad. But here's some of the things I used to do with her. We used to watch old movies together. A lot of Betty Davis, Joan Crawford movies and things like that. And my mom knew about these things, and she would tell me about them, what's going on in their lives. And so much so that I used to have a collection of old movies. Back in the day when you used to go into the store and buy DVDs, and I used to collect them. There used to be a store in New York City. I don't think it's there anymore. And it was just a whole collection of any type of DVDs that you want to get. And I would buy them. And I had a whole collection in my house at one time, but people who came to visit would take them without my permission. And then little by little, I noticed that they were gone. But anyway, that's what I like doing, because those are the things I did with my mom. And she would tell me about so many different movies and people, what was going on in their life, because that's what we did. And I enjoyed having that time with her. And, and I can remember some dumb stuff that I did when my son must have been about 6 years old at the time. My mom was upset at me about something. I don't know. I'm not the person I am today back then. And she was going on and on and on about something on the phone. And I was getting tired of hearing it, because we have been on the phone an hour, and she's just like, you should have did this and blah, blah, and etc. And all I could hear, honestly, guys, it's not funny, but it is. All I could hear is like, Charlie Brown, the adults in Charlie Brown, wah, 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 and after a while, I was just, I'm busy, my son got to get ready for school tomorrow, and she's going on, and I'm talking, but she's so upset about whatever it is that I didn't do or I did. I don't remember. I don't remember right now, but whatever it was, she was really, really upset. And so I would put the phone down, go do something for my son, come back. She didn't even know I was gone. She was still going on and on and on, and it was crazy. And then I just hung up. I shouldn't have, but I did. Anyway, and I went on, and then an hour later, the phone rung again. So I thought it was over and done. And she called back and said, as I was saying, and I said, oh my God, this is crazy. And she went on, and I let her finish. Then I put my son on the phone, and she says, put your mom back on. And I was like, okay, Ma, I give in, whatever it was, because we wasn't getting anywhere, and I wasn't going to get away from it. But things like that, I laugh at. I think I even had that conversation with her before she passed away, and she gave me the look. At first she laughed, and then she think about whatever it was, and she would give me the look. And even that look she gave me, and I'm an adult, it still, made me straighten up. I don't know if you guys ever had your mom give you that look, you know. But those are the things that I remember. She always said to me, because I have three other sisters. I was the one who marched to the beat of a different drum, you know, uh, different from the others. I don't know why she would say that, because I always value my time alone. Because another thing, my mom worked at night, and I think I was 12 or 13, and I was the last one to leave home. So I was always in a house by myself and had to get myself ready for school, all that other stuff. So I read books. I love Danielle Still. I would, write essays in my English class about her. I love her books so much that I probably read most of them. Every week I had a book, a new one, and I would just purchase it and had a stack of and because of that, I became in school. I wrote my first novel because I just wrote a third one. Two are published. I'm about to publish a third one. They're all fiction, but I love to write, and that's another thing, people. Writing with the music, because the manuscript, I submitted it to a publishing company, and they contacted me after reading, and they're floored by it. And I said, when I listen to music, I can't write anything without music. Everything is about music. Everything I do, if I'm having, even in school, and I learned that when I was in college, because I had to write a lot of papers, um, I couldn't do anything without music. I would just plug in a playlist, put a headset on, and just let music go. And then I would do my papers or whatever I had to do. Because I tried doing papers, submitting one paper. So I got a C because I didn't have headsets on, I didn't have music. And he's like, "What's going on here?" The professor said to me, because it was the first C I ever got. And I just can't do anything without music. It's healing, and writing is a healing source, because the storyline comes to me. All the stories are fiction, but I love to write. So that goes back to being a kid, and reading a lot of Danielle Still stories, etc. And I love doing that. And I knew, and if they ever had like a show called Name That Tune, I probably would win, because I know all the songs from the 70s, 80s, because I spent a lot of time at night when I should have been sleeping to get up to go to school. I did go to school, of course, but I have the radio on all night, and all the music would come on, you know. And then I couldn't wait until the weekend come, so my mom would be off, because I didn't like being alone that much anyway. But I learned, to be alone. It's okay, But so that's my story, and my mom taught me to be self-sufficient, never depend on other people. You can do things yourself, So I learned a lot from my mother. We butt heads probably like any other family did, you know. But I miss her a lot, but I try to keep her memory alive here, and when I talk to my therapist as well as other people. So keep your loved one, your passed over loved one memory alive by talking about them, what they brought to your life, what they did for you. Never let that die, people. Keep that alive. One of the things also, I miss my dog Rocky a lot. And I talk about him. That was really painful. So I hope this message here, because I know it's been really long, this video, but I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do. Take a walk in nature. I know it's really hot out today. Do something that makes you feel good, that uplifts your spirit. And, keep that loved one memory alive. And continue to show up here, and to invite others to show up who really need to hear this message, because these are the things that I do to help myself. Rome was never built in one day. It was built brick by brick. Nothing venture is nothing gained. And just continue to show up. And when you feel depressed, talk to someone that you can trust. And one thing to do is therapy. It really helps. I know it helps me. Thank you all for being here today. Let's continue this, and let's learn how to turn this pain into a purpose, and purpose into a power. And then let us pay it forward by helping others. Thank you for being here today. This is Lisa's Love and Light, and I'm bringing you much encouragement. And please stay away from this heat, as much as you can. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Thank you all for being here. Bye for now.